Welcome back to the Growth Over Goals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery. Today, I am with a teacher and a leader of people. He is professionally a collegiate basketball coach. Fun fact about the man that we get to interview today, he's one of the few Division I coaches that did not play the game at the collegiate level, yet he's had more success than just about any college basketball coach. It begs the question, why has Buzz Williams had this level of success and impact? And I'm not just talking about wins, I'm talking about influence. I'm talking about changing communities. I'm talking about changing schools. Buzz Williams is a head coach at Marquette. He's been at Maryland, new head coach at Maryland. He's been at Texas A&M. He was at Virginia Tech. He had an unbelievable start to his career. We're going to talk about the early days of Buzz Williams. He did things that other people aren't willing to do. I think about the axiom, if you want to have influence others don't have, you got to do things others don't do. I'm telling you, I'm talking to a guy that's done a whole bunch of things that other people aren't willing to do. And because of that, I believe God's expanded his territory, given him favor, and blessed him with unbelievable opportunities in life and business. And with all of that, I get to welcome my new friend, Buzz Williams, to the Growth Over Goals podcast. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for even asking me and considering this to be a possibility.
Well, this is such a blessing, man. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. And I want our listeners to know this background of how we got connected. And then I want to share just a couple stories to drop our listeners into what ultimately is going to be a really powerful conversation. I met you at John Gordon's training camp, and we were at a dinner the night before. And although I followed your career for a long time, this was my first interaction with you. And you were talking about the next day and some of the people that you're looking forward to hearing from. And you brought something up about the book that I've written. And then you started sharing some more facts. And I thought, wait a minute, you know me. Like you've taken time to understand me. You did a little bit of homework. And then through some more conversation, I realized that you had done that with every single speaker and so many of the attendees at training camp. You had a file on your phone for every single speaker at training camp. And then after training camp, you asked for my address. You sent me all of your notes from training camp. I have over 40 pages of notes from Buzz Williams. You sat in the front row. You took notes the whole time. I believe it requires two things. It requires an unbelievable amount of humility to step into an event that way, especially when you're one of the featured speakers. And it also requires a really unique level of preparation. I believe the way that you prepare shows how much you care. Buzz, you care deeply. You're prepared. You're unbelievably intentional. And I love your humble spirit. Can we kick off just by talking about the early days of Buzz Williams and where all that came from? This doesn't get talked about enough, by the way. You have a crazy story of getting into coaching and the world of basketball. So take us back to the early days of Buzz Williams.
Sure. Thanks for asking. I don't talk about it very often, not because I'm ashamed. I'm actually very grateful for my roots. I'm from a small community in Northeast Texas. I attended a junior college because I was paying my own way. I went to Navarro College, and I had worked throughout high school in order to save enough money to pay to go to college. I went to junior college because obviously financially that's an easier path. And I introduced myself to the basketball coach there and just asked if I could come to practice. All of that evolved and morphed into something more than I can express in a podcast. But I was just a manager throughout my 2 years at the junior college. Helped anybody that I could, whether that was the football coach, the baseball coach, the AD, the basketball coach, but primarily basketball. And then every week of every summer of my college career, I worked a basketball camp because I was trying to, at that time in the early 90s, I was trying to figure out what does coaching mean and how do you coach and can I do it? And then within all of that, as I met coaches, whether that was at camp or coaches that came to the junior college to recruit those players, as I began to meet coaches from that point forward, before the internet, before iPhones, I would just write them a note on a legal sheet of paper. Hi, Coach Jordan. This is Buzz. I hope you're having a good week. I'll write you again next week, Buzz. I did that throughout all 4 years. I attended an NAIA school in Oklahoma. I actually got a dorm scholarship because the assistant coach, when I was in junior college, was promoted to the head coach, and he had received a letter a week from me since the time he met me, became the head coach, hired me as a manager, gave me a dorm scholarship. And I continued to do the same thing in my junior and senior year of college. By the time that I was a senior in college, I was writing 425 coaches per week. I was broke by then. I had spent all the money I had saved from 8th grade until I left for college. But I had got to know the administrative assistant at the music school. I had got to know the lady at the registrar's office. I had become friends because I mowed the yard of the dean of education. And so I didn't have money for envelopes, didn't have enough money for stamps. And so I would go to each of those departments on campus and ask for their letterhead, their stationery, and I would write my weekly notes, which had become somewhat of a system. Hi, Coach Jordan, this is Buzz. I saw in the newspaper that you guys beat the University of Iowa last night. Congratulations. Best of luck this weekend against Iowa State. I'll write you again next week, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I had got to know the mailman on campus because I let his son come to camp for free because I was in charge of camp at OCU at the NAIA school. So it was just relationship building. In the spring of my senior year, the lady that ran the financial aid office also sang the national anthem for us before a game. There were, 17 people at the game, but I asked her to sing the national anthem again, just trying to build relationships. And so I called her Aunt Nell. You remember the show. You're probably a little too young. It was called Give Me a Break. And Aunt Nell was who she reminded me of. I got a $1,200 student loan. I flew to Charlotte, North Carolina for 72 consecutive hours. I bought a suit before I left. I flew to Charlotte. I was dressed in the suit. I stayed in the suit for 72 hours. I didn't have a hotel. And I just passed out my resume. It wasn't a resume. It just said I had an associate's degree from Navarro College and was a manager. And I was currently an NAIA manager at Oklahoma City University. Long story short, of the 425 coaches I was writing, many of those I had only seen once when I met them. And then I just began to write them. I didn't understand the difference between Division I or Division II or Division III. There weren't 15 people on a staff like there are now. It wasn't video coordinator, director of analytics. It was none of that. It was kind of what it was before all of this has evolved into what it currently is. And so I interviewed for a job. Just so happened I interviewed for a job with a friend that was connected to a coach that had a job. And I was hired for $100 a week at the University of Texas at Arlington as at what that time was the restricted earnings coach when I was 21 years old. I hadn't graduated from college. The coach that interviewed me didn't know that. I didn't lie, but he never asked. He just assumed that I had a degree. And I was back on campus at OCU going to all of my teachers and in essence figured out a way to graduate a month early so that I could start the job. This season will be my 32nd season in college. And this will be my 19th year as a head coach. God has blessed me way more than any dream that I could even think of having. My paradigm was too small relative to how I grew up. I didn't know all of this would become all of this. And so I feel great responsibility with those blessings. And I believe responsibility comes with those blessings. And I don't think that my story is unique. I actually was on a walk this morning with someone who flew in to spend some time in this area today. And he had done some research and had read about what I'm now saying to you. And he said, "You've never told me any of this." And I said, No, sir, you've never asked, and you don't have to ask, but it's just part of my story. And I understand that God was orchestrating my steps. He was actually ordaining those steps. And so for me to take credit, I never take credit. I know it sounds okay now that it's 2025 and I'm the coach at Maryland. But I always tell people, most of the time when I'm introduced, they don't mention that I was the head coach at the University of New Orleans. That was 6 months after Hurricane Katrina, when there wasn't an arena, when there weren't any offices, like literally there weren't any. So I remember those steps. I remember those steps at Navarro College. Coach Orr is 88 now. He has been with me over the last 17 years in some capacity on all of the different staffs. But I didn't know that when I was a manager for him and he was literally my age right now. I didn't know that it was going to become this. And so I feel very blessed, but within those blessings, I feel the same amount of responsibility in order to help others, because people have helped me, whether it was the administrative assistant at the law school who was helping me send 12 letters a day, that OCU was paying for the stamp instead of me, because I was living in a dorm room on the 3rd floor, because the coach could give me a scholarship, because I was the intramural director only because I had keys to the gym. It wasn't an arena, it was the gym. It was where we played, but it was also where intramurals were, because it was the only gym. But I only got that dorm room because I met that coach only one time when I was a freshman, and then I wrote that coach every week when he was an assistant NAI coach. Then he became a head coach. And so you never know where the wires and the roots are intertwined and where they're connected. And that's why I think I don't share all of that, but I'm obviously very aware of it because I lived it.
Well, I've heard you say the hard way is the right way. And regardless of where you're at in life or how much influence you feel as though you have or don't have, we're all faced with hard, unique, difficult circumstances, decisions. Right now, you're hard, I believe, Buzz, just watching you and knowing you, is balancing the unbelievable demand of being the head basketball coach at a major university with a large family. I mean, you have 4 beautiful kids, a loving wife. I know you're super committed to your family. In fact, as I'm talking to you right now, I love this. Your Zoom background is not an office space or some landscape picture. It's literally, I'm looking at your 4 children and your amazing wife. I mean, you love those 5 people so much, and I can see even the emotion on your face change as I start to talk about them. One of my favorite quotes from Buzz Williams, and by the way, you are an Axiom quote machine. You package information in such a powerful way. You say your decisions reveal your priority. And I know that right now you're constantly faced with the decision to manage choices and time and really fighting hard to honor what matters most in your life. Talk to us about that axiom that your decisions reveal your priorities. And if you're willing, would love for you to even get a little bit personal with what that means to you in your own journey.
Sure. That's a lot. So I'll say a couple of things and then maybe give some evidence to those things. You're going to spend your time doing something and you choose what it is. That's you. That's me. That's my wife. That's your wife. We all have the same amount of time, no matter our title, no matter our age, no matter where we're from, no matter our race, no matter our socioeconomic status. We all have the same amount of time. And we all view time possibly in a different way. You can invest. I believe time is similar to money. Are you going to spend it? Are you going to invest it? Are you just going to sit on it? And so when you say no, N-O, I think you have to know why, K-N-O-W. So when you say no, you have to know why. But I also think there's a counter to that. I think there's always two sides. When you say yes, you have to know why you say yes. And so for me, I think it's hard to be something you can't see. And so in all of the compartments that I feel are my priorities, as a Christ follower, as a husband, as a father, as a leader, as a coach, what are those priorities if I were to rank those 5? And then I think there's sub priorities within that. I think a lot of people have a lot of words, but their actions don't match their words. And I believe your words and your actions have to match, because it's hard to be something that you can't see. And so as a Christ follower, what does that mean relative to how I spend my time? As a husband, what does that mean? As a father, what does that mean? As a leader, what does that mean? And I think in possibly my maturation over the last couple of decades, where does my health fit into this? My mental health, my emotional health, my physical health. What is my literal diet? I've had to pay attention to that. But what is my figurative diet? What am I allowing my eyes to see? What am I allowing my ears to hear? What are the words that I'm allowing my mouth to see? What am I allowing into my heart? And so I've struggled up and down, roller coaster with the transition that this job change has brought. Not because it was the wrong decision, not because anything is wrong at Maryland, but anytime you're trying to live your priorities, to some degree, those priorities should be reflected in how you spend your time. And if your time is going to be altered in a transition, where do you live? Where do you eat? What do you do? Who do you see? What are your responsibilities? It's going to be difficult. And if part of your leadership is that of a family, that of an organization, the empathy that's required for those that you are leading to understand their wife is looking for a job. They need to find a place to live. Their teenage daughter is struggling with the move. Yes, you're dealing with that in certain ways, but then you also have to lead them in how to best help them. And so I don't think that there is an easy answer. I do believe with all of my heart, the quote that you mentioned, and I think that you, like in any other development process, you're constantly trying to find ways to tweak it. And I think that one of the things, Jordan, that I have learned specifically in the 115 days that I've been here is in what the model of college athletics has become. It was basically we lose in the NCAA tournament, and then shortly thereafter, can you pack up the carnival, figurative carnival, from College Station and move it to College Park? And so there hasn't been a break. Not that I want my priorities to change, but part of my calling is that I do care. And care, in my opinion, equals energy. And I have to be my best in that moment so that whoever that is and whatever my priority is, if I'm best in that moment, then it sets up the opportunity for me, them, whomever that is, to be best in the next moment. And it's easy to figure out on the box score of a basketball game, why did you win? Why did you lose? And I think that's just in the little country town where I'm from, that's top water. That's everybody knows that. That's not really what this is. I think in the things that you talk about, the things that you share on your podcast, the things that you write about, the things that I've heard you say, we're looking for excellence in the margins. And now in those margins, you decide what those margins are. When you're 30 and a newlywed, the margin is probably different on the box score than when you're 40 and married for a decade with 2 kids. And then I think when you get to 50, it's the circle of life, not the Lion King, not Elton John. It's like, no, the literal circle of life. And I think when you look for excellence in the margins, you have to determine what those margins are. But most of the time, the separation is when you're looking for excellence and you're looking for excellence in the margins, it's the margins that your eyes and your heart say, that's what's most important to me. Because you're going to look where others aren't. So me and you can be friends, and we are friends, and we're going to become better friends. But your vision for your life, the vision you're casting for those that you're leading, as your life unfolds, what you're looking at on the box score is going to evolve. It's going to morph. And you're going to look back at your 20s and go, I don't know why I was doing that. Because now I'm in my 40s and I'm like, that doesn't even matter. I think that's part of it. But the margins are changing, and you are the person that decides where your vision is for those margins.
So good. So you're an interesting case study in leadership. And if we're going to talk about managing decisions and managing priorities, I think we also have to talk about managing people. And I'm not talking about managing people just in a sense of who are your players or who works on your staff. I'm talking about managing relationships, because Buzz, you are one of the most gifted relational leaders that I've been around. I mean, you give people energy, you add value, you're prepared. I mean, you make people feel like $1,000,000. John Gordon and I were just talking about that this morning. I said, man, Buzz just made me feel so valued in a small window. Like, man, he made me feel known and seen. And I think you have that effect on people. And yet, I think you've worked really, really hard to tighten your circle. Matter of fact, I heard you say this on Jim Rome's podcast. You said, my circle has become a dot.
Yeah, no question.
So talk to us about that. For somebody who's so relationally gifted, you got all these people pulling on you. They want your time. And yet my circle has become a dot. What has that been like for you? And what would you say to the leader who's also trying to navigate a lot of relationships, people pulling on me? I'm trying to go deeper with fewer, but man, Buzz, how do I do that with a sense of honor and humility and treat people the right way?
Yeah, really good questions, man. Like elite level questions. And I mean that sincerely. I'm a connoisseur of this sort of genre of speaking and questions and answers, man. I really appreciate it. A few things. My circle is a dot. And I've never listened to Jim Rome's radio show ever. I know he mentioned that when we were together. I love the guy. And, when he begins to talk about what he does or specific examples, I don't know. I just know his spirit, and I know how he's treated me. And he was treating me that way long before I was, quote, worthy of being on a show. And so, it's like once every 2 years, he'll send a text. He'll call my assistant and go, hey, can Buzz come on? And I've always told him yes. But this has only been like 4 times, like over the last 15 years. And so when I saw Jim Rome at the event at John's deal at training camp, I never met him ever. And so he's in the hotel, we're checking in, and he said, Buzz, and I could hear his voice, and I was like, Rome, what's up? But on the question, a few things. Number one, I want to be a dispenser of love. That's what I want my brand to be. And I think when you're a dispenser of love, you have to realize that different life experiences, good and bad, their definition of love is different. And so if I want to be a dispenser of love, I have to understand that who I'm trying to love, they may not receive my love the way I would receive it, because their definition of love is different. And so to that point, in our staff, in our transition, past job, the previous job, the next job, the current player, the next player, the portal, not any of that, no matter who they are, the more you know me, the better you can love me. That's true of our wives, right?
Yep.
I can love my wife today, 25 plus years in, way better than I could after 25 months. But vice versa. Her loyalty and willingness to be married to me, along with the profession I'm in, I'm so dependent on her love. But the love has been refined because she knows me. And it is our love language. And I think it's Gary Chapman, The 5 Languages of Love. Before you were born, he wrote it. But if I want to be a dispenser of love, I have to help first get to know that person. The more I know them, the better I can love them. And then as we establish that trustful relationship, now we have created our own definition of love between the two. And I think in any leadership role, it doesn't have anything to do with basketball. This is just my leadership opinion. I have to love the person, not the potential. And I think that's a lot of times in sport, but maybe it happened in industry when you were in corporate America before you began to do this. Like, is the love of the leader based on how well you sell? Is the love of the coach based on how many baskets you scored last night? Because if you're wanting to love people, and I think that's our purpose, that's our calling, I have to invest in that person so that we can establish what love is within that relationship. But then I have to be true to that love. And in order to be true to that love, it can't be based on the person's talent. It can't be based on the person's gifts. Because those gifts, my opinion, those gifts came from above.
Amen.
I was not promoted to the head coach at Maryland exclusively because of my gifts. My gifts are not my gifts. I am called to be a steward of those gifts, and promotion doesn't come from man or me. That's not for me to judge. And so in these relationships, it's fragile. And so we define love as a program as true love. And true love, like vocabulary word, 4th grade, vocabulary word number 1, true love, not a compound word, 2 words, underline it, colon, vocabulary word test on Friday morning before recess. True love has no agenda. So I can't have an agenda in loving you except to help you be your best.
Amen.
So my agenda can't be based on your talent, because you are going to have more talent than many, but you are also going to have less talent than many. But as it relates to in this program, however old you are, whatever race you are, whatever country you're from, however much money you're making and or not making, however you got here, we can't have an agenda that is based on your performance, and that dictates the figurative stock price of love. Because I think you have to love the person, not their potential.
So wise. And I would put you in the same category when it comes to style as a John Wooden or a Nick Saban. To me, Buzz, you're more of a teacher than you are coach. And, you know, I've heard you even describe inside of your program the difference between coaching toward an out of bounds play versus coaching toward becoming a better human? And I know you said in the early days of coaching, you would be maniacal maybe about that out of bounds play. And now you said you've gone almost the other way where maybe you can even afford to work more on that, but really now it's all about character development and developing your team. And you've become maniacal about that. And I think this transfers, whether you're coaching basketball or you're leading a real estate firm or a financial firm. Talk to some leaders about developing people first and players second, or in some cases, people first and professionals second. What does that mean to you?
I rarely use, Jordan, the word balance because I don't exactly know what that appropriate definition is.
Agreed.
But I think that the leader has to decide what is their definition of success. And we're all chasing different definitions of success. And so, is it the chicken or the egg? Is it if they win, they will come from the baseball movie recorded up there near you? Is it, let me figure out the out of bounds play, and once I figure out the out of bounds play, then I can figure out the people in the uniform that were running the out of bounds play? Is it, let me present myself in one direction publicly, but internally and privately, whether that's within my office or at my house, I have other problems or drama that I'm hiding. And so your results come from your behaviors. And your behaviors come from your feelings. And your feelings come from your thoughts. And so, yes, sir, you're 1000% right. I've said it. I own it. When I was 33, I didn't know how to run an out of bounds play, really. And I knew if I was going to keep my current job at that time, I felt as though I need to figure out how to run out of bounds plays. I understand it was more than that, but you get the metaphor. And then now, decades later, I do think that there is a place for the out of bounds play. I'm not negating the importance of special teams. I'm not negating the importance of you do need to know what you're doing from a tactical standpoint. But I believe that more importantly, that the byproduct of those results, the byproduct of the game, the byproduct of the sales call, that's based on the behaviors. Okay, so the out of bounds play, the mechanics of the out of bounds play is important, but I really need to focus on the behaviors within the practice, within the film room, leading up to practicing the out of bounds play. Well, how do I focus on those behaviors? Well, those behaviors come from feelings. Okay, well, these young people that I'm leading have a lot going on, that had a lot going on before I met them. So I've got to get to know them so I can better understand how they feel. And then once I can better understand that, then I can realize that all of that is directed from our thoughts. And so I spend more time trying to help them have the right thinking patterns, because I believe that's the originating position, so to say, on what will eventually lead to the results. But having said that, that means I have to be okay that in the process, if the results don't come and I understand that's how I will be judged, am I okay that maybe I'm no longer the coach because we didn't achieve the results, but relative to his heart and his life and his family and his sphere of influence, did I do right from my lens? And was I accountable to what I believed I was responsible for? None of that, Jordan, is to say that I'm right. None of that is to say that I have all the answers. None of that is to say I'm a sports psychologist. None of that is to say I'm only talking about God or that I draw up the best out of bounds plays. None of any of that is the intent of my heart to have arrogance or ego. It's just been the evolution of, at 33 as a head coach, this is what I thought. And now I'm about to be 53 as a head coach. And I'm like, I tell you what, hey, Jordan, you're in charge of the out of bounds plays. You teach them to me.
Yep.
I'm giving you ownership in your leadership path. You got that. I'll help support you. I'm going to be your assistant in those out of bounds plays. And if there is a problem with the out of bounds play, I know they're coming to me, whether that's the media, the boss, the fans, the donor, players, mama. I got them. I'm going to take it, but this is right for your path. Teach it to me. I can handle it probably a little quicker mentally than I once could, but I can't give 6 hours to it because I really need 6 hours to invest in those people that are actually going to be running that out of bounds play. Because as you're going through the process, Jordan, of teaching them the out of bounds play, you're probably going to need the 6 hours I needed when I was 33. So I'm going to handle it when you are teaching it to them. I'm going to be on the floor and they're going to do better because of my relationship with them while you're teaching it.
Whew, that's good. That's a masterclass on empowerment is what that is, and really, I think developing people starts with the understanding that as a coach, it's not our job to do all the development, but to make sure all the development gets done by the right people at the right time. That's an Andy Stanley quote. The other thing I thought about as you were talking, Buzz, Corey Close said this on our podcast recently, and she took this from John Wooden. You're not coaching people's jump shots, you're coaching people's hearts. But ironically, if you coach somebody's heart, you're likely to get a better jump shot. And I see that in you, Buzz, and your style.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I'm around a brand new team. And so 2 red shirts from Texas A&M followed us here, and 2 guys going into their last year of college followed us here. But I don't treat them any different because I have a long-standing relationship. But we've got 10 other kids that this is every day is a brand new day. And earlier this week, actually, one of them said, "Hey, coach, you don't ever talk to me about my game." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of it like that." And he's like, "What do you think?" And I go, "Think about what?" He goes, "My game." I go, "Well, I got some thoughts about it." I said, "But I haven't been around you very long. And so I don't want to start talking about your game because my opinion is still new. And it's not like we're having real practice and we haven't played any games. So maybe I'm careful in the words that I say relative to your game because I know your game is important to me." Important to you. And he goes, "Yeah, no coach has ever said that." And I said, "Well, you've had some really good coaches. They're better coaches than I am. You're asking me about your game." And he goes, "Yeah, I was just wondering why you didn't ever say anything." And I said, "Well, I'm trying to get to know you first." And he goes,
"Wow.
Yeah, I've never spent as much time with a coach as I have you." He said, "But you're always talking to me about like my life and how to do better and how to mature." And I was like, "Yeah, because I think your game and your life run on a parallel trajectory."
Yep.
And so I want to spend as much time as I can on the other parts of your life because I don't want you to think that your identity is only that of a player, because one day you're going to be my age, and whether you think you can or not, you're not going to be able to play. And so if early in your life in this relationship with me, I can try to spend time with you on what is important to you in the trajectory of your life. I just personally think, because I'm old, that the trajectory of your game will match the trajectory of your life. So that's why I asked you what time you went to bed last night. That's why I asked you what time you got your first workout this morning. And that's why I asked you what you did when I wasn't in the gym after Friday afternoon. I'm trying to get a feel for your habits, because really your habits become your identity. And so let's work on all of the things that may help you relative to your game. And as we're helping you with your habits, of who you are, I actually think your game will mirror that trajectory.
Isn't it true that people buy who you are, not what you do? And I think when you lead that way, when you value people based on who they are, not what they do, and you get to know them before you get to know their game, they receive you and trust you in a completely different way.
Well, I personally believe that, Jordan. All of this has changed a lot, but I still think that mom and dad and even children, they want to be held accountable. Now, you need to hurry up and get to the why sooner maybe than you did in 1980. And you need to be succinct in explaining the why. And they need to understand where they fit into that vision of why. But for me, I haven't had any problem coaching these guys. Not just these guys. We're 0-0. That's why everybody likes me so far at Maryland. But I could coach those guys at Texas A&M, but I think I could coach them because of the relationship. And I don't think that when they called their mom and said, Coach Buzz said this, I don't think the mom went counter to what my message was, because the mom knew my heart as well. Now, again, I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying that those guys and their families agreed with every decision we made as coaches, but as it relates to the relationship and never betraying that trust, that's why we had such a low transfer rate. And I hope that we can do some of those same things here. And so I think your life and your game are, they mirror one another. And so why do I spend less time on out of bounds plays and more time on different priorities than I once had? I believe the same is true as a coach, because I can skip past some of the maniacal out of bounds work prep if I'm maniacal in investing in who they are. And so it's just maybe similar to what I mentioned a few minutes ago. It's just a different margin. It doesn't mean that it's the right margin. There's a lot of margins. There's a lot of different ways to write a book, to do a podcast, to be a coach. There's a lot of different ways, but I think you have to be comfortable with the way that you're doing it, whether it's pass or fail, win or lose, good or bad, contract extension or contract termination. You have to be convicted by those things, in my opinion.
Man, I could talk to you for 3 hours. You know, we could spend a day. I could keep this rolling forever. I want to honor your time. This is a masterclass in leadership and personal development. Hey, Buzz, as we land this plane, I want to go quick hits with you.
Okay.
And on some level, this isn't fair. I'm going to ask you favorite in the context of plural, because you probably won't be able to say just one. But you have coached some of the best basketball players in the world. You've been around some of the best coaches in the world. You've coached in some of the biggest games that have ever been played. You've been around some of the greatest leaders. And so I just want to get a window into your world and a window into your mind, and also have some fun with this. So quick hits, here we go. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Who are some of your favorite, plural, some of your favorite athletes that you've ever had the chance to coach?
The ones that I've enjoyed coaching the most are the ones that never got to play, that showed up every day.
That's a great answer.
Had practice. They were excited that they got practice gear because they did all of the things to earn it. And they showed up knowing, I'm not talented enough and I'm not going to get to play next week when we play, but this is my game today. And I'm going to give of myself and what gifts I have relative to my energy, relative to my ability to be a great teammate, to communicate what the scouting report is. And they were 100% giving of their time / themselves to help the organization. And so I'm always going to cheer for the underdog.
Come on.
I'm always Overcomer, I know, is a song, and Mandisa can sing it better than I can in the car. But like, I'm cheering for the overcomer, the overachiever,
Wow.
the underdog. And so for me, it's been the ones who, when you look at their resume, you're like, how did you ever get here? And then how did you end up staying here? And so those have been my favorite players, the ones that never get to play but show up 100 times a year to practice.
What a great and refreshing answer. That's not what I thought you would say. That's a great answer. You're friends with a lot of folks in the profession, coaching in the world of basketball. You're also friends with a lot of people in the world of football.
Mm-hmm.
But who are some of the great coaches that you've had the opportunity to learn from or be around? Your favorite coaches?
Yes, sir. Most of I grew up wanting to be a coach. I did not necessarily grow up thinking I was going to be a basketball coach. I was just wondering if, while in college, is there going to be a chance for me to be a high school coach? I went to a class 2A high school. There were 43 kids in my graduating class. And then when I went to junior college, after I kind of began to figure it out and wash the practice gear and sweep the floor before practice, by the time I was entering my third semester in college, my sophomore year at the junior college, I was like, man, I was so short-sighted. Like, maybe someday I can be an assistant here. Like, maybe I can be an assistant junior college coach. Like, the AD likes me, the baseball coach likes me. Like, wonder what sport I should go in. But I maybe I can do better than Van Alstyne High School. And then fast forward, one of my responsibilities at OCU for Coach Case was every Friday I had to take his car to the car wash. Now, I'm from a small town. We had a car wash, but it wasn't the car wash that Coach Case was wanting me to take his car to. So every Friday when I got out of class, he wanted me to go take his car to the car wash. Now, again, Oklahoma City is a metropolitan area. Where I'm from, there's not even a stoplight. Yeah. But we did have a 2-stall car wash. And, you know, you put the quarters in it and it has a sprayer. That wasn't the car wash Coach Case was talking about. But I washed his car for months. So one Friday, I'm going to his office after class. Hey, Coach, you got your keys? I'm going to go get your car washed. And he just happened to say, hey, Buzz, where have you been taking my car to get washed? And again, I'm now, you know, like second semester of my junior year, and I'm like, that's a setup. I cannot get in trouble on this. And I was like, oh, Coach, do you not like it? I didn't want to say where I was taking it because I was assuming he was saying something was wrong. Mm-hmm. So I responded to his question with the question, hey, Coach, is there something wrong? He was like, no, man, it's like the best car wash ever. And I was like, oh, well, Coach, if you come out of the campus and you turn left at the stop sign and you go through the first light right there on the right. And he's like, what's the name of it, Buzz? And I was like, the name of the car wash? I was like, Coach, I don't know the name of it. You know, you just go in there and you put the quarters in there and then you wash it. And, you know, you have the brush and the shampoo starts coming out of it and you scrub it. And he goes, are you doing it? And I go, yes, sir, I've done it every Friday. And now I'm beginning to be a little offensive. I'm like, yes, sir, I'm doing it. He goes, why? Why are you not taking it to the car wash? Again, I'm from small town, rural America. And I go, Coach, I am taking it to the car wash. He had some other words that are probably not for some of the leaders that are following you. He's like, what do you mean? My point is I realized then on the backside of that conversation that the school provided him with that car. And I had so much fun driving that car to the car wash where I washed it, where he thought I was taking it to a car wash for them to wash it. And I was like, I don't think Coach got a car at Navarro. Coach Case they're giving him this car. Fast forward, I'm 21. Coach McCarter hires me at UTA. I ask him every Friday, because I'm the low guy on the pole, hey, coach, you may go get your car washed? And he's like, Buzz, why are you asking me if you want my car washed? And I was like, oh, coach, I'm just trying to be nice. I'll go wash your car. He goes, no, I don't need to get my car washed. And I'm riding with him recruiting one day, and he stops to get gas, and he has a school credit card, an Exxon school credit card. And I'm like, hey, coach, is school paying for your gas? He goes, yeah, Buzz, this is the school credit card. I was like, wow. And he was like, wow. I was like, coach, I never seen a school credit card. He goes, Buzz, they're giving me this car and this credit card. And so each step along the way, I never knew it was going to turn into this. And so my paradigm has just kind of been extended, but only because I believe that was the only way I could process it without ego. Because I think God knows that if I knew that it would turn into this when I was 21, then I wouldn't have treated the process or the people right along the way.
Man. Well, I see this in you, and I'll continue to pray this over you as we get to know each other better. You've got 10 toes on the ground, and a lot of folks in your position don't. And one of my favorite pieces of scripture that's just become really precious to me is that God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble.
Yep.
And I think he's been gracious to you. I think about your transition from Marquette to Virginia Tech, from Virginia Tech to Texas A&M, from Texas A&M to Maryland, and all the people that you've touched and impacted along the way. And you've continued to have this really solid reputation. You've loved your family well. You're doing so much good in the world, and you're kind to people that you don't have to be kind to. And so I want to say thanks for, number one, investing an hour of your precious time and energy into our podcast, a bunch of folks that you might never meet who listen to this show. You made me feel like $1 million, had no reason to do that. Met at training camp, didn't know me from Adam, took time to get to know me, made me feel valued, seen, noticed, and understood. And I think more than anything, you haven't forgotten where you've came from and where your gifts came from. And I think that's just really special. And so, man, I just look forward to staying connected to you, learning from you, being around you, adding value to you where I can. And I'm telling you, man, this has been one of the best hours of my week. What a blessing. You are a special leader, coach, friend, head coach, Maryland basketball, father, husband, and a leader of people. Man, this has been a privilege. Thanks for being here, Buzz Williams.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate the kind words, and I received them.
God bless you, my friend. Look forward to staying connected.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
This has been another episode of the Growth Over Goals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery, and I want to say thanks again for being with us today. Thanks again to John Choate and his team at Storyline Multimedia for all that they do behind the scenes to make these episodes go. Be well, be great. Have an amazing day.